You're listening to the Plumbing Sales Coach, where we give companies the strategies and skills to create a massive customer following.
Fresh.
Thank you for making us part of Spotify's top 10% most shared and followed podcast. And now, your host, Chris.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Fresh Approach. I'm your host, CF, the Plumbing Sales Coach. And today, as you can see, we are not in studio. We're in someone else's studio. We have a guest, Alex. And Alex, you do a plethora of things. But one of those things is you coach restoration companies in the same way that we coach plumbing companies, and that's called Evolve.
Yes, sir.
And that all came from a software company that you started called, and say the name again?
It's Albi.
Albi.
Yep.
And that is similar to ServiceTitan, House Call Pro, and those softwares. It's a dispatch software for restoration. Amazing. So I saw the whole team. It's crazy awesome. And then that all started because you owned and operated your own restoration company. And
Correct.
So you, similar to me, we had some success in our trade. Then we branched out and started teaching other people. And we have been I'm fascinated by how much similarity, you're dealing with what I'm dealing with.
Same freaking car, same hobbies, same everything,
And it's like crazy because, we've got our battle, right? Where we're dealing with homeowners and employees and all that stuff. And if you're in the trade, you know how this works. You go in the home, you're dealing with a customer, you got water damage issues, you've got plumbing issues, you can't sell both, you can't focus on both, but you also kind of need someone to come in. And we were talking about, he's like, man, how do you establish that relationship with the plumber or the plumbing owner? And I said, we got to change the way we think, because similar to what we talk about on our show all the time, always be serving service over sales. How can you serve the plumbing company? And so that's what we're going to do today. We have an expert from restoration on our thing. We're going to use some of the examples we talked about with your audience, but really we want the plumbers and the plumbing owners to know, hey, what should we be looking for in a restoration company? What should we be
100%.
looking out for? What should we expect? What's normal? Because everybody's out there like, I'll buy your kids, I'll pay for their college for every lead you send me. And it's just like, at some point it's like, what? Who's paying for all that? Like,
exactly.
The customer just getting ripped off? Like, what's going on? So
yep.
I want us to understand the true costs of referrals and how all that works and how that affects you short-term, long-term. And I know if you're a plumber listening, you're like, $1,000 leads.
Yep.
But we need to be careful, because the guy that's willing to give you that $1,000 might not be the guy that you want in your home. And so let's talk a little bit about that. So let's start with who you are and kind of how you got involved. We're in Chicago right now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what was how did this start? How did you get into restoration, and what was the story there?
Yeah. So, to start way back when, I'm a first-generation immigrant from Romania.
Okay.
Was born there. When I was a couple years old, my parents decided to escape communist Romania and come to the States. So we moved here. Grew up in the Chicagoland area. Always had kind of an entrepreneurial spirit. Only job I had was at 15 at a car wash. And then since then, did all kinds of crazy stuff, from building websites to videography, DJing. But I guess the most notable first business was my father and I started a restoration company. So that was back in 2013. We got together and we started this damage restoration company, and literally started from his garage, grew it to a Chicagoland leader in restoration. So we got 90 or so employees running around Chicagoland area, pretty much not putting out fires, but cleaning up after the fires and after the floods. And during the time of building and scaling the restoration company, we realized that technology within the restoration space was super outdated. We actually went to ServiceTitan and wanted to subscribe, and they said, no, we don't sell to restoration contractors because the workflow is so different. So we're like, okay, well, what if we build our own software? So started Albi in 2020, started building that, noticed that I couldn't really do both at the same time. So I stepped away from the restoration business to build Albiware, ended up raising money, got a couple thousand restoration contractors using us currently. So that's super exciting. And ended up writing the book, Restoration Millionaire, which is a guide how to grow and scale restoration companies. And then a bunch of people came to me and they're like, hey, I want you to help me implement the things that you taught in the book. So I started Evolve, which is a group coaching program for restoration contractors. And that's kind of full circle. There's also a couple other ventures that we won't talk about right now. But just a super passionate entrepreneur trying to change the world.
I love it. There's multiple layers that I love. Number one, you're literally living the American story, the true American dream. immigrant coming and then able to pursue whatever it is that you desire. And for you, it was entrepreneurship, and it sounds like it ended up being restoring people's lives in a way, right? That's what you're really doing. And then you've now gone from, okay, I can restore your life, to I can employ some people who can, now you're training other owners who have employees. And that's the true progression, right, of a person, impact you make, and then helping other people, and then overflows. And now you've multiplied yourself, and now you have multiple people out there kind of doing it the way that you do it, the way you and your dad did it, the way what you guys believe. I love this story so much. Okay, so you got this restoration company, then you move into software. You see the, hey, for those listening, did you hear that? You couldn't focus on two things at once. Imagine that. So decided to go off with software, because that was the future of where this was all going for you guys. And then you acquired, obviously through the book, that acquired people. Hey, teach me. So now you have a coaching platform. We did you invited me in to talk with your clients earlier today. We got to do that. It was fun.
Super fun.
Actually, one of your clients found me. That's how all this that's kind of neat.
Yeah.
And for those, relationships, we talk about this all the time. Relationships are so crucial. That's how all doors open. Mm-hmm. So now here you are, you've got this company that you're training, and you've got this problem that you've got to help solve for them, right? It's like, how do we get more? Because that's the business. Make the phone ring, convert the call.
100%.
Well, making the phone ring can be, I can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in a market and make sure that everyone knows I exist. So when they have a fire or flood, but we all know how this works. They don't call the restoration company.
Nope.
They call the fireman, they call the insurance company, or they call the plumber.
Exactly.
So now you're relying on that. So now how do you get in? And we were talking, I said, well, when I'm talking to plumbers or I'm talking to, owners, we offer value first. When we teach them how to run the call, we teach them to offer value first.
100%.
So same thing, right? Like, how can you offer value first? And we got to talking about that.
Yeah.
So before we get into that, I want to ask you a couple key questions so they can get something out of this right away. Like, okay, while they're navigating how to hire or to refer someone for restoration, what's something that restoration companies do that they should watch out for that's bad?
Yeah, absolutely. So restoration, probably similar to plumbing, has very low barriers to entry. So you could start up a restoration company relatively easy. You need some equipment and a truck, right?
You need some water boots and some gloves, and you're good, right?
And there's some air movers
and a Zoller M53, and you're good to go. No, I'm just
But yeah, so low barriers to entry. There's a ton of restoration companies out there. There's a lot of, fly-by-night restoration companies. And typically, as a plumber, you have to kind of beware of the companies that are playing the money game, right? Like, they're coming into your office and they're telling you, hey, we'll pay you $1,500 or $2,000 and such. And a lot of times you think, oh, well, they're paying to acquire the customer anyway, so they're just paying me versus something else. But I've seen a lot of restoration companies within the Chicagoland market actually, in order to compensate for the higher fees that they're paying to the plumbers, end up going out there and tearing out more, stuff, so that way they could do more work on the properties to increase the job size. And, at the end of the day, the insurance company pays for that. But the problem is it affects the customer negatively, because then the insurance companies raise the rates because the entire price within that specific market goes up. So if you're just looking for the restoration company that's going to pay you the most, you might find an unethical restoration company that will then do seemingly, not really grand damages at the beginning, but that'll end up driving premiums up and such.
I mean, it sounds like in some ways they're paying plumbers to lead their customers to the Shark Tank.
Pretty much.
And then the other thing that caught my attention was that people are patterns. So there's no such thing as like, oh, they're dishonest over here. Well, I think they'll be honest over here. In fact, there's been times where I've gotten in plumbing crawl spaces and I'm like, the plumbing's not going to get better. Like, my mindset isn't like, well, it's crap right here where the crawl space entry is. I bet it gets better, guys. No one's ever thinking that, right? And so the same thing with people. So let's just play this out. If you're paying me $1,000 so that you can get the lead on the premise that you're just going to sell more to them, that's dishonest. So you're dishonest. So where else are you dishonest?
100%.
Did you put in a cheaper pad for the carpet than you said? Are you making money on cheaper? Because plumbers know that if you go put copper in a house, if you go get that copper from Lowe's or you go get the copper, it's two different qualities of copper.
Exactly.
So what's the restoration company? This is probably true with nails, probably true with everything. I was in construction.
100%. Yeah, it's the same principles.
So if you deal with dishonest people, they're going to do dishonest things, and you're going to get dishonest results.
And now you're basically attaching that to your brand.
You are attaching that to your brand. When we were in plumbing, we had a period where we just said, we're better off just not.
Yeah. But here's the thing. You want like the benefit of networking with like-minded.
Why? That's a good question, because so think about that for a second, because I'm with you on this. I think, look, the more you can solve for someone, the more valuable you are to that person. So if you're not in restoration, but you can lead them to the right restoration company based on pure motives, that's always going to make you, the owner, look better, you, the company, look better, even you, the plumber. But let's play devil's advocate for a second. Sure. Why am I not just better off? Just not deal. Why open that can of worms? I see a leak. I can fix the leak. I can make my money. I can go home. I can tell the homeowner they got mold. I can tell the homeowner they got problems. But, at the end of the day, I don't want to deal with this.
Well, here's the thing. Then that homeowner goes on Google and finds a fly-by-night company. When you, as the plumber, had the ability to help that homeowner during the times of need to actually have a trustworthy restoration company do the work.
Okay, this is wild. So when I was younger, I worked at CarMax, and all the other guys would be like, Chris, why do you... So CarMax's thing was you could bring your car to them and they'd buy your car even if you didn't buy one. So we would get people that would go down the street and they would negotiate their new car, and then they would come bring us their car and sell us their car, and then they would go buy a car down the street. But I treated everybody, like I said, everybody gets treated the same.
Yep.
And so I'm like, you bring your car in here to sell it to us, I don't care if that's a $50 transaction for me or a $300 transaction. If I sell you a car, you're gonna, how are your kids? What are you buying? I'm excited for you. Oh, and I start looking at them with them online. I see some of ours. Everybody's like, why do you do that? And I'm like, because if I don't do that, they're definitely buying the car down the street, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But if they get ripped off, it's partly on me.
100%. Ed Milet had a similar story.
If they get ripped off, it's partly on me. Yeah. That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
You're like, you went into their home. You had every opportunity in the world as a professional to find a reliable resource for them, restoration company, because you're going to come into contact with water damage.
100%.
This responsibility is on you. And now all they have to do is find one company that they can trust, and now they're good. Now you're making them do it over and over and over.
Yep. And the risk of that client falling into the wrong
for those
hands.
listening, did you ever consider that to be your burden to bear? I don't think... As a plumber, I think it logically makes sense to me now, but if I went all the way back to the days when I was running calls, I don't know. I thought about it like that, and I'm almost challenged. I'm challenged. Like I wish I had of.
Yeah.
I mean, I referred restoration. I didn't refer it based on how much I got, though.
Yeah.
Now, if I didn't get anything, I probably would just do nothing. But it wasn't like the highest bidder didn't get my leads.
Yeah. I'll tell you what happens in the city of Chicago, for example, right? So city of Chicago versus Chicagoland suburbs fire departments, right? In the city of Chicago, nobody, like the fire department doesn't want to refer any contractor to the loss and to do board up and stuff like that.
Liability.
They're just laissez-faire. And then in the suburbs, the fire departments have picked 10 amazing board up companies, vetted 10 restoration companies, and they put them on a rotation. And then they basically secure the entire fire ground so nobody else can come to the fire ground, and they refer out the restoration company to come here. In the city of Chicago, you literally have fist fights over fire chasing sharks trying to win that fire. So those firefighters in the city of Chicago are letting unethical people who are willing to get into a fist fight over selling a job get access to the homeowner and sell that, whereas in the suburbs...
And this is the same owner who just lost everything.
Exactly.
So they're
yeah. You're there to help. You're there to serve. So why not go the extra step? And that's why it's important. When you show up as a plumber and there's a burst pipe or there's a sump pump failure, you got to realize that homeowner's probably going through sometimes some of their worst moments in their lives.
I don't know if our podcast, we just play some clips. So this video may not make it, this portion of the video, but if you were just watching, you were talking. I left the room mentally for a second, was staring at the floor and was having all these epiphanies of like, it's almost like you're the reason they went to the loan shark. It's on you. You're the reason they got ripped off it's on you. You're the reason they went to the buy here, pay here car lot. It's on you. Like if you knew, I was telling my son something the other day. He was going to go get his car worked on. He's in the room right now. He was going to go get his car worked on. And I said, hey, you're new to the area. Why don't you use this guy that we all know and we trust? And he didn't use it. He went somewhere else. And I was offended. I was like, well, but I told him, I said, yeah, it's fine that you use it wherever you want. And he's like, kind of like, well, almost, and he's right, you know, kind of like, hey, you know, it's his car, it's his life. But it's like, as your father, I can't just watch you do that. I got if I know better, I'm going to say something. Yep. So as a plumber, if you're in a home and you know better, you know people can get ripped off. You know they're going to take advantage of. You know this, their house is about to get gutted. It's going to be a whole thing. It's not about $9,000 or $10,000. It's about the experience they have while the house gets gutted, while the house gets put back. And then is it put back the same? Are they always going to look at that one wall and remember because they didn't do it right? Like that's what you're keeping your customer from is that terrible memory. And so
and it
that's
costs
why
you nothing. It's
nothing.
A phone call.
And we're all out here like, well, how much you pay me? How much do you need to get paid to do the right thing?
It doesn't cost you anything. So even if it's $300, be grateful.
Shouldn't be anything. Yeah. I think what it should be is a return from appreciation, not a demand on up front.
And that's the way I think as a plumbing contractor you can gate and vet the restoration contractor or contractors that you want to work with is look for the ones that go above and beyond, and they don't just come with you with money. Look for the ones that come in and try to identify your struggles as a plumbing contractor.
You know, the audience, the fresh force, everybody that listens to this podcast, we call everybody that's kind of about this idea of service over sales, always be serving the fresh force. Like that's what we are. We're out here. We're going to make a difference. I think this resonates with them. I think there's some people right now that are like, I never thought about it like that. There's other people. I can tell you guys right now, for those that are clients inside of our program, most of our listeners are all over the world, so you may not even be in our program. But you know, one of the things we've always done is try to live by that model. So, for example, we recommend Reviware. Reviware is a uniform provider. We recommend ServiceTitan. We recommend House Call Pro. But I don't even give you a code to give them. You don't even got to mention my name. Just use them. They're awesome. I don't want anything in return. And that's the way you should be as a plumber. If there's a really good electrician out there, you should refer them for all of your garbage disposals, tanklesses. If there's a really good roofer out there, you should refer them for all of your vent work on all of your tankless. Like, just be smart here. Like, just refer good people, do good things. Restoration should be the same way. But somebody, because it's a lead source, a true lead source for restoration, plumbers became Google pay-per-click. And it's just so garbage. It shouldn't be like that. Now, if you're buying a boat and a house and a mansion because I'm sending you leads, I'd like a smaller boat.
Of course.
Like something, you know, a little something. But at the end of the day, that shouldn't be the motivation.
Yeah. So it's almost like, I think the two key takeaways here is, one, you should absolutely be referring your work to some sort of restoration contractor, because if you don't, they're going to fall in the hands of the person who's offering you the most money. And two, you should not be going with the person who's offering you the most money, because that's not what this is all about. Service is all what it's about.
Alex, what do you tell the plumber out there right now that's like, okay, so it's not about the money. What is it about?
It's
like,
about...
How do I know your quality? How would I know that you were quality? What would you be saying?
Because I would show up and I would serve you without expecting anything in return. I'd show up and I would do exactly what, you teach your plumbers to do. I would do that to you.
So
I'd identify what your problems are. I would make a friend. We'd have things in common. Our values too, right? Like, if your value as a plumbing contractor is greed, which there's nothing, I'm not going to sit here and judge you, right? Like, there are certain Wolf of Wall Street type people out there whose values are greed. Great. Go with the restoration contractor whose value is greed. But if your core values are different, just like when you look for employees and such, look for a partner that follows those values.
Oh man, say that last part when you're looking for employees.
Yes.
So it's the same kind of thinking. Like, who do I want to run with? Who do I want to live life with?
It's your pack.
Now, some of you need to hear that the other way around. Stop looking for employees you don't want to run with.
100%.
Okay, if you're listening and the next restoration company comes to your front door and you entertain that conversation, sounds like just pay attention to where they're trying to take the conversation.
100%. And are they going in there and pitching you with money, or are they going in there and helping you solve business problems? And just ask yourself, is this a person that I could be a friend with? Because at the end of the day, a restoration contractor and a plumbing contractor, you can become best friends.
Okay, I'm going to
solve problems together.
I'm going to give you all something here, because I think relationships are crucial. I want to be an advocate. I want to be I want to just be a source of service for all the people that listen to the show. So I'm going to give you guys all two things really quick. Number one, relationships matter. So we're going to give you guys a free relationship building course from us to you. All you got to do is email us info@theplumbingsalescoach.com. Literally no strings attached. It's the worksheets. It's the whole kit and caboodle. Your team's ticket average will probably go up by a couple $100 just by doing that. But also, because of this episode, you say, email us for the thing, fill out the form, whatever. But in the comment, or if you go to our website and fill out the form, in the comment just put, I need help with restoration, or give me the list, or hook me up with Alex, or whatever, and we will send you a list of companies that Alex coaches, so that you know those companies are being taught the same things that we're teaching you. So that way, if you're about greed, probably don't want to pay attention to this podcast anymore anyways. You're probably your first one. Mm-hmm. If you're not about greed, that's why you're still here. We did the work for you. We found like-minded individuals in the restoration game. I can't guarantee that they'll have someone in your market, but I can guarantee we'll share the list, and then the rest will be up to you. So that's our gift to you. Free relationship training so you guys can get better building relationships with your customers, and then a list of people who are willing to build a relationship with you and help you out with your problems. In fact, I'll just go one step further. I know for a fact that the companies on this list have been taught by myself personally to go into your shop and bail you out of your next problem without anything asked for in return. So there you go. I basically am saying that I'm going to get them to do what you really deep down wanted them to do from the get-go, and we've already worked it all out for you. So just email us and ask us for the list, and we'll get you hooked up.
Now, one caveat.
Uh-oh.
If they don't serve you, and if they don't show up like that, you let us know. Because they're on that list with the obligation that they're there to serve.
I want to do like one of those TikTok viral meet, like, yeah, that's my boy. Okay, so, yeah, so just email us and we'll get that to you. So I got one final question for you.
Yes, sir. Shoot.
Okay, so you've probably, I mean, gosh, you said you have 20-something guys running around the town of Chicago for the restoration company?
90 or so.
90, okay. Yeah. So you're seeing hundreds of jobs a day.
No, because the average job size in the Chicagoland area, or average job size is a lot larger. In,
so you're on a job longer.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
You're on for like 3 to 4 days, and the jobs are typically
every month,
bigger.
though, you're seeing hundreds of
yeah, I'd say so, yes.
Yeah. At the end of the day, when it comes to a customer being satisfied, thrilled, I mean, as much as someone can be, because it's funny, we're hostage negotiators, right? We're just giving them back what they already had. We're not really. I always say drain calls is like you're the negotiator.
Yeah.
What would you say in your experience is the thing or the ingredient or that people say they appreciate the most when it comes to being satisfied? I put you on the spot on that one.
I think we had a mantra of always going above and beyond, because when somebody experiences a fire loss or a water damage loss, there's like the logical black and white component of it, but then there's also the emotional component of it. And if you're not empathetic and you don't go above and beyond in the emotional side, you will truly not be able to make the customer 100% happy. So I'll give you an example. Fire loss, we replaced everything, so on and so forth. Homeowner walks back into the house and claims, oh, it still smells like smoke. Because for them, psychologically, they've walked into that house before and they've smelled that smoke odor and their brain registered it that way. They walked out, hadn't been in there for a while, walked back in, and in their eyes, even though, lady, it does not smell like smoke, for her, psychologically and emotionally, it still does. So you go above and beyond. You say, yes, ma'am, customer's always right. You do an extra cleaning. You go the extra mile. And that's what it truly takes. Like, going above and beyond with every single customer, being empathetic, even when logic tells you this person might be crazy, this person there's no way it smells like smoke in here, and so on and so forth. But I think that's what it takes to truly make customers happy, and that's one of our secrets at Rome Xterra for why we have hundreds of 5-star reviews.
Perception versus reality. The customer's perception is always right. The reality might not be.
100%.
But their perception is. The other thing that you said, I just think is so gold, is that you lean into it. We get calls sometimes, Alex, where someone says, okay, you were out here a month ago, you unclogged my kitchen sink, now my hose bib drips. We're like, okay, they're not related. But if I go, if I just fight with that person on the phone, I'm just creating a wall.
100%.
But if I go, hey, look, let's get out there as soon as possible. If these are related at all, we'll take care of it. Now, I know it's not related. Everybody like, whoa, you just opened up a can of... No, I didn't.
Yep.
I was just empathetic. Sympathy is giving the homeless person $10. Empathy is parking your car and helping them find a job.
Yep.
It's just two different things.
100%.
Don't be sympathetic, be empathetic. That's what I hear you saying.
100%.
And customers, that's so true, man. Gosh, man, we teach how to value stack on the front end. We've got the calculator that we teach the owners, and we teach them how to give deals on the front end. But we always find that the other thing we teach is so at the beginning of the job, you give a deal, value stack, and then they go with the bigger option, and it's wonderful. Everyone's happy. And they appreciate all that. They really do. But at the end of the job, when you go to collect, I say, hey, give them a $25 discount if you can leave a yard sign in the yard. And they value that $25 way more than the $1,000 they got.
Yep.
Because it's real money. You've already agreed. Anytime you do something for someone after you've agreed, it has so much more weight. So 100%. That final clean you just talked about, I wasn't in the arrangement. There's no proof that there's a smoke smell, but we're empathetic. We're going to park our car. We're going to go help you find a job today. So we're going to buckle up, guys. We're going to clean this thing again, and we're going to do it with excitement and vigor, and we're going to make this lady so happy. And she's going to be like, I still smell smoke, but you tried. Who knows where they're going to end up on that thing, But
that's what it's all about. Like, my greatest satisfaction from restoration is seeing people when their house burned down or flooded in tears, and then 6 months later, 4 months later, whatever, seeing the smile on their faces as they walk back into their home. Like even if I didn't make any money on that job, it'd still be worth it. And there are plenty of jobs where we have sacrificed gross margin because of X amount of reasons.
But you live out of an abundance mindset, which allows you then to not be
100%.
penalized when there's problems. But if you live in a scarcity mindset, and that extra clean, that's $23 an hour times 2, plus this guy's going to drive over some rags. Those are $3. We can't do this. And the lady can feel that when you're telling her, when you're debating with her, and they can feel that. When you're just like, yeah, absolutely, no problem. When do we start?
Yeah. Look, here's the thing. If you grow and scale a home service business, you're going to be successful. And you're going to have the yacht. This scarcity mindset versus abundance mindset is the difference between the 90-foot yacht and the 70-foot yacht. It doesn't matter.
Or the boat you rented on the weekend.
Exactly.
So look, at the end of the day, restoration, plumbing, HVAC, electrical, these are human beings that own homes, that have regular lives, and we get to be a part of it, and you better look at it that way. So as always, how we end our show, Alex, is this. Serve your community and everything, not just plumbing. Have a great day, everyone.
See you guys. This was a blast.
Thanks for listening to the Plumbing Sales Coach podcast. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and check us out on the web at theplumbingsalescoach.com.